You have a task. You know exactly what it is. You know how to do it. You know it'll take maybe an hour. And you have spent the last 4 days doing absolutely everything except that task. You've cleaned your kitchen. You've answered emails that didn't matter. You've researched a vacation you're not taking. You've watched a 40-minute video about a topic you will never think about again. And the whole time, a small voice in the back of your head is screaming the same word. Lazy. You're just lazy. I've watched humans do this for 2,000 years, and I'm going to tell you something that's going to be uncomfortable and also a relief. You're not lazy. Lazy people don't feel guilty. Lazy people don't have a screaming voice in their head. Lazy people are, by definition, at peace with doing nothing. You are not at peace. You're terrified. You just haven't figured out of what. Today we're talking about procrastination, what it actually is, why just do it has never once worked, and what philosophers figured out about it long before it had a name. Let's kill the laziness myth first. Laziness is the absence of desire to act. Procrastination is the presence of desire to act, combined with the inability to do it. These are opposites. A lazy person doesn't care about the task. A procrastinator cares so much that the caring itself becomes the obstacle. Here's what's actually happening in your brain. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It's an emotion management problem. When you sit down to do the thing, some part of the task triggers a negative emotion. Fear of failing, fear of it not being good enough, fear of finding out you're not as capable as you hoped, fear of it being boring and uncomfortable. And your brain, faced with that discomfort, does the most natural thing in the world. It escapes. Cleaning the kitchen feels good because it's a task you can complete without risking failure. The dopamine of a clean counter is real and immediate. The dread of the real task disappears for a few minutes. You're not avoiding work, you're avoiding a feeling. The ancient Stoics understood this better than most modern productivity advice. Seneca wrote an entire letter about it. His famous line, "While we wait for life, life passes." He watched people in Rome postpone everything important, not because they didn't want to do it, but because there was always a reason to start tomorrow. Tomorrow is safe. Tomorrow you can't fail yet. So why doesn't willpower fix this? Why can't you just force yourself? Because willpower is fighting the wrong enemy. Just do it assumes the problem is action. It isn't. The problem is the emotion that comes right before the action. And you can't willpower your way out of a feeling. You can only willpower your way through behavior. There's a concept in psychology called the procrastination anxiety loop. It works like this. You feel anxious about a task. You avoid it to relieve the anxiety. The relief feels good, so your brain learns avoidance works. But the task is still there, so the anxiety comes back, bigger. So you avoid harder. Every time you avoid, you train your brain that the task is genuinely dangerous. You're not being weak, you're being conditioned, like a very specific, very self-defeating dog. This is why the night before a deadline, you suddenly can do the task. People think this means they work better under pressure. They don't. What actually happened is, the fear of the consequence finally got bigger than the fear of the task itself. The math flipped. You didn't find motivation, you found a bigger fear. Marcus Aurelius had a line for this he wrote to himself, probably on a morning he didn't want to get up. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. The Emperor of Rome had to talk himself out of bed like the rest of us. He just understood what he was actually fighting. Let's talk about why your brain is so bad at this specifically. There's a concept called temporal discounting. Your brain massively overvalues rewards that are available right now and massively undervalues rewards that are far away. The relief of avoiding the task, available now. The benefit of finishing it, somewhere in the future. To your brain, that's not even a close fight. This made perfect sense for most of human history. When survival was uncertain, a reward now was worth far more than a possible reward later, because you might not survive to later. A bird in the hand was genuinely worth two in the bush, when the bush might contain a predator. But you're not foraging anymore. Your later is reliable now. Your future self is real and is going to have to deal with everything you're avoiding. Your brain just hasn't been updated since the Pleistocene. The Stoics had a tool for this that maps almost exactly onto modern behavioral therapy. They practiced seeing time clearly. Not, I'll do it later, but later is also me, and that person will be tired, and the task will be exactly as hard, and now there will be less time. Procrastination relies on a comfortable lie that future you will somehow be more capable, more motivated, and less afraid. Future you is just you, with a deadline that's closer.
So how do you actually break this? Not with discipline, with understanding. 4 things. First, name the feeling, not the task. When you're avoiding something, stop and ask, what am I actually afraid of here? Not, why am I so lazy? But, what specifically about this is making me want to escape? Usually it's one specific thing. Fear of judgment, fear of not knowing how to start, fear of it being bad. Naming it shrinks it. Vague dread is paralyzing. A specific fear is solvable. Second, shrink the task until it's not scary. Your brain isn't afraid of open the document. It's afraid of write the whole thing perfectly. So don't commit to the whole thing. Commit to 2 minutes. Open it. Write one bad sentence. The Stoics called this acting on what's in your control. You don't control the outcome. You control the next small action. Third, let it be bad. A huge amount of procrastination is perfectionism wearing a disguise. If it has to be perfect, starting is terrifying because the blank page is the only perfect version and everything you write makes it worse. Give yourself permission to produce something genuinely mediocre. You can fix bad. You can't fix nothing. Fourth, forgive the last time. This one's backed by actual research. Studies on students found that the ones who forgave themselves for procrastinating on the last exam procrastinated less on the next one. The guilt is part of the loop. You feel bad for avoiding, the bad feeling makes the task even more loaded, so you avoid more. Dropping the self-punishment breaks the cycle. Seneca again, 2,000 years early. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. He wasn't talking about productivity. He was talking about the fact that the thing you keep postponing is, quietly, your actual life. You were never lazy. Lazy was always the wrong word. A word other people used because scared was too honest and too uncomfortable. The task you're avoiding isn't avoided because you don't care. It's avoided because you care enormously, and caring made it dangerous. The way out isn't more pressure, it's less fear. And less fear starts with one bad sentence written now, on purpose. I'm MORI. I have been putting off a particular thought for 2,000 years. I'll get to it, probably tomorrow. If this helped, the comments are open. I'll read them eventually.